Welcome to the Valley Today, a public service presentation of KAIL-TV. We travel back to Colinga to talk with Mark and Kathy Seitz and the beloved Horned Toad. The Horned Toad Derby happens every Memorial Day weekend with a parade, carnival, and the Horned Toad Derby itself spread out over 4 days. The Horned Toad was prevalent before agriculture started in the valley, but now lives in the unincorporated areas untouched by humans. Colinga and the Horned Toad Derby, up next on the Valley Today. Now we are with Kathy and Mark Seitz. Hi, Mark.
Hello.
You know, I got a great interview from your wife last week up on your ranch, and I hadn't seen horned toads in 50 years. 50 years!
No kidding.
I remember seeing a horned toad maybe when I was about 8 years old. I'm 58 now, and so I haven't seen a horned toad for a half a century, and your wife had 3 of them.
Well, she is a horned toad catcher.
Yeah, and you're a good horned toad catcher.
I am.
Yeah.
I'm the queen of the corn toads.
Yeah. Now you're talking about horned toads and about how they used to bring in horned toads, but now these are all local horned toads.
That's right. And they all the horned toads that we catch on our ranch. So.
And what a magnificent ranch it is. Yeah. And I guess they're protected now, so.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
And you can only catch 25 and have to have a permit. And there's a
so you can only you didn't tell me that.
There's a number.
We take out a permit for 25 horned toads.
And you actually have to return them to the same place you caught them. But I'll tell you what, I think that our program that we have is we have a captive breeding program where we keep them for almost a month. They breed. Without predators, and then we return them back to the wild. So I think we're actually doing a little bit better.
Now, one thing I didn't ask Kathy last week was, do they lay eggs or do they birth live?
They lay an egg.
They lay an egg.
They lay an egg. It takes 30 to 40 days gestation, and then it takes another 90 days for the eggs to hatch.
Okay.
And just recently, they've hatched some eggs in San Diego. At a college down in San Diego, first time ever that eggs have been hatched, and they hatched them
in captivity.
85 degrees, and I don't know what the humidity was on the eggs, but the first time ever that eggs.
So you guys
are
doing a captive breeding thing now?
Well, just because we keep them together.
Yeah. Okay.
Not intentionally.
Not intentionally.
Yeah, but they have a great time.
Yeah.
It does happen to be their breeding season when we catch them.
Yeah.
And
so when is the breeding season? Now don't go too far away now. No, don't go too far away.
Well, they breed pretty much when they wake up in the spring as soon as it gets warm.
Okay.
As soon as the soil gets warm enough to wake them up, they wake up, and that's the first thing on their mind is perpetuating the species. So.
Yeah.
And and that happens to be when we're catching them, and it doesn't interfere with perpetuation of them because they don't have to worry about hawks or anything, and it doesn't seem to bother them, to be penned.
Yeah.
They have no issues there.
Right.
They're being fed well, and they're basically provided for in all ways, and predators are kept at bay, and it seems to be working because every year it actually seems to be easier to find them. So I think that we're actually increasing the population.
Okay. She said they're little pigs. She says you throw ants at them and they'll just keep eating until they explode.
Well, that's true. I mean, I think this year we've learned more over the years. This is like my 14th year.
Yeah. And
I think our family's been catching them for 30 years.
Yeah.
But every year we learn more and more how to better take care of them, and little different things that maybe we keep the ants alive longer, or the horned toads actually end up in. We're actually able now to return the horned toads in better health than when we actually caught
them.
Really? So I'm real proud of that.
And that's an interesting thing you said. You said that the ants don't survive long. Now you're putting them in refrigeration, and they go dormant, and they live longer.
They do. At one point, we used to go up twice a day and catch live ants for them because we couldn't the ants work themselves to death, even in the trip back to town.
Yeah.
And we've learned that if, and this is for, for universities, anyone that's trying to do any kind of captive program with horned toads, not to encourage anyone to keep one as a pet because that's not advised, but if you catch the ants and refrigerating them immediately, it puts them in a dormancy. Add a little moisture, we'll put a few ice cubes in with them, and we're able to keep them, for 3 or 4 days.
Yeah. So if you were just to grab ants and just throw them in a box, they wouldn't live that long?
No, they don't. They pretty much just work themselves to death.
Yeah, they try and find their way back home is what they're doing.
Oh, okay. So they're clawing their way out of the bost, and then they're expending all their energy.
If you dormantize them a little bit with a little bit of cool, then they kind of walk around a little bit.
Metabolism,
and they just kind of get picked off.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they become fodder.
Yeah, that actually has been more of a challenge. Feeding them is more of a challenge sometimes than catching them, depending on the weather.
And depending on their mood too, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, but if you got them in a box and you throw ants on them, they're going to go for it, aren't they?
They
do.
No,
because the thing is those horned toads, they feed so slowly.
Yeah.
Because they feed so slowly in their natural habitat. When we come over here and we're keeping them over here, and you take them outside and it's time to feed them, you have to wait for probably they'll feed for 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah.
Because they feed in stealth. They feed off the anthill where the ants thin out, not in the trail from the anthill, where they thin out, and they'll stay right there and they'll pick one off at a time. They'll pick one here, one there, and then they stay real still. And they'll pick another one, and then, but they'll eat over 100 ants. We've watched them feed on ants for over 2.5, 3 hours. Just standing watching them like, hey, let's watch that horned toad just to see how long he eats, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I realize that's not normal. Probably most people don't do that, but, we really enjoy it. And, but
now that's cheap amusement when you can catch a horned toad and get 4 hours of entertainment.
But it's all in the part of learning like what their habits are and this and I'll tell you what, they just take a long and even though we have them in captivity and you go to feed them, you throw a bunch of ants out, they just don't jump on there and start eating up the ants. They do that same stealthy thing that they do in the wild, and they'll pick one off. And so you got to kind of and the ants will run down inside and hide from them. You got to stir them up. It actually takes a lot of work to keep them fed and keep them fed right.
We got footage from Kathy catching some ants. She just stirred them up a little. She threw a little dry grass on, and boom, they were swarming. And then she scooped them up, got them in the box.
We've actually learned a lot about ants this year, and where you stir the hole up. Sometimes when you stir it up, they'll just go back in the hole and they won't come back out. And so now we'll throw a cow pie on the hole. And what happens with the ants is,
they like cow
and I'll
pie.
tell you what, it's they think
it's
that a cow.
Condominium.
They think that a cow
There's a
walked
lot
by.
of pockets.
I swear, I think they think a cow walked by, dropped a pie on their hole, and it's just another cow.
Yeah.
And they stay active, rather than retreating into the hole.
They clean it up.
We've been catching them like crazy like that.
Yeah. Now she said that you've caught the same horned toad a couple of years in a row.
I have horned toad stories that. I'll tell you what, I got a horned toad about this toad, and we called him Speedy, okay? We missed this toad in the same spot twice in 1 year. Missed him. And only because he was moving so fast. We could see him out in front of the Jeep, take off across the road. The only horned toad that we ever saw catch air off the road, and we could actually see air underneath him, taking off and going off the side of the road. Twice in 1 year. The next year, we come to the same spot, we see him again. All right, later on in that year, I go up with my daughter, that's 14 years old, and I go, you know what, Charlie? I go, we're gonna go up there, we're gonna hike up there. So we hiked up that hill that you guys four-wheel drived up.
Yeah.
We hiked up there, and we hiked that road all the way down. This is about a 2.5-hour hike. Hiked one way, we caught one toad down that way, come back, and we come back down, and we take off, and we go down the steep road where you're going back down. Off from the bank jumps this horned toad. Okay, I see him jump off. He leaps off the bank. I run after him. I catch him with one hand, and I'll be damned. Right next to him is his girlfriend laying right in the center row. Boom! With that one on one hand. Him in one hand, her in another hand. Catch them both, right? We bring him back. And the only thing that distinguished that toad was he had if you actually look at them, their horns are pretty distinctive.
Right.
You know, they're actually kind of like deer. You know, their horns tell their genetics, and they'll be curved horn. They'll be spread. You know, they're just a little bit different every way. This one had a big old white tip on one horn. Okay, finally caught him after 2 years. Caught that horned toad. Bring him to town. That toad never lost one race. They put him in a race. He never lost a race. Won every single race. That toad was the toughest toad to catch. We go up the next year in the same spot. That toad's like waiting for us.
Yeah.
Jump out, we catch him. It's the same toad, got the same old white horn.
And
he's like,
bent,
wait.
yeah,
He goes like,
bent on
hey.
the tip, white
He goes,
horn.
hey, I want to go to town. I want to be with the girls. You know, it's like we caught him that year, brought him to town, same thing. That year, this is 3 years ago. Bring him to town, never lost a race.
2 years in a row.
You know what? And I'll tell you what, I don't know if he's passed on or what's happened, but I never have. I go to that spot. And I look for him every year and never have
and
seen
he's got
him. So
one white horn
one
on
kind of
his
white
crown.
horn. We could spot him a long ways away.
Crooked. And
Yeah.
white.
He had a big old crooked white horn.
That
Yeah.
is really fascinating.
Mr. Speedy.
Yeah. And haven't found him since.
Well, and I'll tell you what, I found a three-legged toad 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
You know, and the only reason is sometimes cattle will step on them.
Yeah.
Take a little piece off them, and we actually returned that toad in the same spot. Came back the next year and caught him in the same spot. So,
Now, of course, we're here in
Yeah.
Colinga. This is the last race of the Horned Toad Derby.
The last race.
And what can we
Hey, Sherry.
expect?
We're the best of the best.
Yeah.
The best of the best. My only concern, it's a little bit
Is
cold.
there only
It's-
one heat left?
There's only one heat left.
Yeah.
There's one heat.
And how many animals are going to run?
I'd
Six
have
or
to
eight, I
check
think.
with the.
I'm
I'd
not
have
real
to check
sure.
with Katie
Yeah.
with the chamber, but I'm thinking 8 toads. And
We are on TV.
yeah, and this is my friend
This is Sherry from
Hi, Sherry.
Oh, it's a Sweetly
From
Divine
Sweetly
here in
Divine.
town.
Yeah.
Got a plug in
All
there,
right.
Sherry.
Well, we're talking about horned toads. You have a favorite? Sherry, do you have a favorite?
my favorite.
She's your favorite. I don't think she counts as a horned toad, but maybe we can get her a little
I don't
crown
know.
with some
I don't know.
horns on it. And so we're going to see a good heat at 4 o'clock.
Well,
We're gonna see a good heat. The best of the bet today.
Yeah?
that's right.
Whoa!
Well, you know what?
We have about 20
One
minutes.
of the
till
problems
race
is
time.
it's starting to get a little bit cooler, and because they are reptiles,
Yeah. You're going to have to heat them up a little.
when it's hot,
Get a
they
hairdryer
tend to
on
move. Right now, at this weather, they're probably not going to move
Yeah.
very fast. So yeah, it's very distinctive, and it's kind of like been our.
They're running.
Come on!
All right,
There they are.
All right.
they're coming down the back stretch.
If you take a look at them, you can see like what kind they are. Males or females. Females are a little bit rounder. The males are a little bit more angular. Usually the males are a little bit more active, but you can see right now they're not very active.
So we could be here till like July.
Well, the thing is right now is the temperature has dropped. And these are reptiles, and you're trying to make them do something that they, not that they don't want to do, but they can't do.
Yeah.
They just can't move.
Yeah.
So
So this being cool and us liking the sweater is not good for the
when
toads.
it's cool like this, you know, usually this time of year it's a little bit warmer,
Yeah.
and they run a little bit faster, but they're frozen. Like they want to move, but they're not real sure about it.
Yeah. Mike, you got any favorites?
Well, number Red was my favorite. He's the one that started out. He did it. Red did it like in 1 second on the first race.
Which one?
Number Red, the big one.
Oh, okay.
But
The
Blue's
one
been-
that was looking right at us?
I think Blue's the one that's
Oh!
I think that Blue or Green. Blue's been winning the last 3. Grand champion right there, the blue one.
Hey, that's a Toggenburg toad.
But don't we have a second and third and all that?
Just
That's it,
winner.
just the winner.
That toad came from Toggenburg. I could recognize that toad.
Where'd he come from?
From Toggenburg. We know exactly where he came from.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Just from his size.
So that's it. You don't have a second and third or a runner up. None of that.
Winner. That's it.
Now is he going to have to go through drug testing and all that?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For coming out, we're going to give you. We're going to tell you who the winner was right now.
If you bet on the blue toad, check your ticket.
And that's it. No more races.
Yep. That's the final.
Yeah.
This is the final.
There he is. There's the winner.
Wow.
Of the
Here is the
77
winner
season.
Look at
of
that.
a cupcake, a cup,
Oh man.
and $30 worth of Starbucks. 237.
That's the winner.
983. Winner 237983.
Check your tickets.
What do you think?
Check your tickets.
Quick race. Turned out pretty well.
379.
It's a good looking
Bring
toad.
it on.
Sure
bring
is.
it on.
Sure
Well,
is. Not the
make sure
biggest
you
toad, but not
He
the
was the
smallest
fastest
either.
today.
Yep, sure was.
Now how come you don't have second and third and all
That's
that?
Coach Mia. He can't win it.
We might be here all night.
Really?
Win, place, and show.
Once he took off, that was it.
That
Then
was
the
it.
other split.
Exactly.
Yeah. Look how pretty they are, Charles.
I think I got him.
Look at that.
I think he's fooling me. All right, hey, you know what? You need a haircut. All right,
Okay,
That
this
is
ends-
impressive.
This ends the 77th annual Horn Toad Derby. It's been fun, it's been fast, and it's been furious.
So you got any hopefuls for next year?
All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Well,
here we go. Coach
hopefully
Mia,
we
where
catch
are we at?
Mr. Speedy.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You think he's still out and about? When was the last time you saw Speedy?
It's been 3 years now.
Yeah?
This is the varsity head-
But you
head
know what? They
varsity
live
coach
for
of the-
10, 15 years, so it's not unbelievable that we couldn't catch him again.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you, ladies and
Well,
gentlemen.
you know, there's a toad I've been hearing about that's been in the training stables. It's called Terry the Toad.
Yeah.
Sponsored by Bob Harris at KAIL Studios.
Spur of the moment. She asked me, what would you name this toad? And I go, my mind just went blank. Terry was the best I could come up with.
Yeah. You know, and there's
Terry the
another
Toad, that
one
sounds
called
good.
Totalitarianism that's shown a lot of promise for next year.
Yeah. So this is 70. How long have you been doing this?
14 years.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's how long you've been in the family, huh?
No, I take that back. Excuse me. You're asking me a question like how long you been married? It's been 20 years
Okay.
now. So,
But just in the toads, 14.
no, it's
Yeah.
been 20.
Yeah. Now, do you try to go to different places on your ranch trying to find toads? Or
Yes.
are you
No,
a creature
we-
of habit where you keep going to the same place?
No,
we always look around.
Yeah?
Yeah, we always look around.
We,
so
we hit
we're-
the hot spots first, and you know, then we go high and low, basically. You
we know
just
where we
depending
can
on how
find
much
we know where we
success
can
we're
find
having.
toads, and the thing is if you find one toad in one area, there has to be at least 25 toads in that area,
Right.
Just to support
Yeah.
their whole lifestyle, you know, because of predators and this and that.
And how
So,
far will toads, what kind of range do they have?
about a mile.
Yeah, really?
And they will, they'll feed on. They have to be in an area where they can feed on 4 or 5 anthills.
Oh, okay.
At one time.
So they don't clean out the anthills. They'll
no.
They're
They-
kind of
They
they're
basically farm them.
Yeah,
You
they're
know,
farmers.
They farm them, and they go around. They pick a few off here, a few up there,
yeah.
and that's kind of what they do.
Yeah.
So, and they have to support the whole colony, so they don't want to eat them out completely.
I was really surprised at how big these black ants are. I thought they were a lot smaller. Those are some big ants.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. You know what? And the thing we found this year is another thing is a lot of times those harvester ants are red, but the harvester ants that we have in this part of the country are black, which is kind of an odd thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very cool.
Yeah, it is, and the biggest, you know, of course the horned toads are protected, and the biggest threat to the horned toad are the red Argentine ants.
Really?
And I think one thing we need to do is get more public awareness about that. They're not really and especially like they're not a nuisance plant ant to people like the fire ants are. They're very small actually and kind of innoxious really.
Yeah.
Except that they compete with the black harvester ants, and the horned toads starve to death on them. They've done lab studies on them and fed them nothing but red Argentine ants, and they lose weight on them.
Now, are they prevalent up and down the west side of the valley?
Oh yeah. The red Argentine ant is definitely becoming very prolific in California.
Really?
They are, and I
They
think
might be
that
more dangerous than DDT.
Really?
yeah, and I think we really need to get a public awareness program really about the red Argentine ants, identifying them and dealing with them.
Now, is there anybody doing studies on these horned toads as far as at a university level?
There are a few.
Yeah, because they are protected at this point. They're not endangered, but they're just one below endangered. So that means that the federal government is watching to make sure that they don't become on the endangered list, right?
That's correct, and I think part of the problem is our identifying numbers because of the terrain that they inhabit. Just getting good. Quantifying the amounts, I think, is really a difficult thing to do.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no question that there are they're gone. They're just flat gone in certain areas.
Right.
You know, the valley floor no longer supports horned toads. There's no question about that.
Right. Well, since we've been tilling the valley floor, then we've been destroying their habitat.
Well, or their food source.
Right.
Well, that, and
okay.
like I said, and the ant supply, you know, it has a big thing to do with it.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to quantify exactly how many there are in areas that support good quantities of them, and I know that we have a few of those. They're doing fine, but I think the main thing is to just make sure that we protect that habitat and primarily watching for the red Argentine ant.
Yeah.
And they like to live in nursery plants. You know, people need to be aware of that and check.
So they can migrate depending on what plants we're getting, and then moving them throughout the state.
Exactly.
Or around the country.
Exactly. And I think we kind of need to focus. We kind of need to focus on those areas.
Yeah.
You know, making sure. You know, obviously they're hard to combat once they're established.
Right.
And I think we need to focus on making sure they don't get established in areas where there's good horned toad populations.
Yeah. Well, this has been really fascinating to be here at the last race of the 77th Horned Toad Derby. I think I want to cry.
I'll tell you what, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, it certainly has. Mark, Kathy, thank you so much for
Bob.
bringing us in and showing us the
Thank you so much.
fortress of
We
the horned
appreciate it.
toad,
You bet.
and taking us on your property. You know, you guys are living the life, and we're
living large.
Yeah, you're living large.
We're living large.
We're living the dream.
Yeah. So thanks a lot for being on the Valley today. And the Valley today is a public service presentation of this great TV station. Come to Colinga anytime, and you're going to meet nice folks.